it was sort of hard to sort of embrace God at that point because I couldn't deal with myself. It's time, and slowly every day seeing things get better every single day. It just takes time.
Bienvenida. Let's start healing. Hi, everyone. I'm Adrianne Murchison, and welcome to episode 36 of the Let's Start Healing podcast. We have more in common than we think, and what we have in common can change the world. That's why I just greeted you with Bienvenida, which is welcome in Spanish. This episode is brought to you in part by Nicole Gabrielle Skincare and Cosmetics for today's lifestyle. Forward-thinking founder Nicole Gabrielle has been licensed in the aesthetics industry for more than 20 years and provides her high-quality cosmetic and skincare line with every type of face, lip, cheek, and body in mind. Nicole Gabrielle Skincare and Cosmetics are created especially for you. Products are available online at NicoleGabrielle.com. That's spelled NicoleGabrielle.com. Also, follow on Facebook and Instagram at Nicole Gabrielle Skincare. Our episode today is titled Grace in a Man's Calling to Be Kind. Our guest is Mr. Todd Duncan, who is a very good friend of mine and also a senior editor at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Todd hired me years ago and we became good friends. He is married to Lynetta Chanel Duncan, who is a frequent guest and friend of the Let's Start Healing podcast. And Todd is going to share some life experiences that resonate. He is going to talk about the grace of God, how he has questioned God, how he's been angry with God, and also forgiveness and kindness. So he's going to cover a lot in this conversation. Let's meet him. Let's get started, and let's start healing. Welcome, Todd.
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
You're acting so nice.
I am nice. I'm always nice.
Thank you for doing this.
No problem. This is fun.
Yeah, this is great. We're going to talk about God.
Okay.
Or spirituality.
You think I'm afraid?
No, I don't. But, so I was telling you not long ago, when you said that you would be open to doing this, that although we don't talk about God, I always was aware that you have a relationship with God.
That's
so
true.
Yeah. So what?
No, I have always had a clear understanding of something greater than myself.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was a small kid, I always knew that there was something larger out there, that I was connected to something in this world that was greater and deeper and beautiful.
Yeah.
So I always knew that.
So did you grow up going to church, or?
I did. I had a sort of interesting background. My dad is a Roman Catholic and my mom is a Southern Baptist.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And growing up in Queens, I ended up attending a Lutheran church. And I was very active in the church. In fact, I was an acolyte. Yeah, and I did little mini sermons in church. As a young, I'm talking 10, 11, 12 years old. I even participated in communion.
So you went to
the host.
You when you say communion, I think Catholic, but they had it in the Lutheran church too. Yeah,
absolutely. Because you remember we posted the 95 Theses. And we revolted from you guys. Martin Luther, man. And so I was really very interested in that, and I almost decided to become a minister. I mean, I saw the impact church had on people in positive ways, and I really embraced that. And the ritual is just fantastic.
Yeah,
and the communal nature of going to church and what people get from it. I mean, it's It's great.
You went until you graduated high school or until?
I went to church until I went away to school.
To college?
Yeah. And then, of course, obviously, I couldn't. I couldn't go back to that church, but yeah.
At what point were you thinking about becoming a minister?
Oh, well into my late teens.
Really?
18, 19, yeah.
And then you thought, hey, I'll go into journalism instead.
No.
They're simpatico.
No. It's just my view of organized religion changed.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I didn't need, and it sounds horrible, I just felt I didn't need a middleman.
When did that happen? When was the shift?
In college. I started taking different types of religious courses. Like I took The Bible as Literature, which is a great course. If anyone can take a course like that, you should.
Wow.
Because for me, it actually strengthened my religious convictions.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, my friends who took it with me, it shattered a lot of theirs. Because, you strip the dogma. And
they had this idealistic view.
Yes. Or what they've been told, from the pulpit since they were kids.
Uh-huh.
We had this great professor. He understood history. He understood, how the Bible actually came together. And he would say, well, this is not true because, and he would show you on a map why it couldn't be true.
Yeah.
And for me, it was mind-blowing. But the realization of that just sort of strengthened my belief in something extra and definitely solidified my relationship with Jesus because, this is real. This is great. But this is great.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, I sort of enjoy exploring the knowledge of that. Like to me, the more knowledge you have,
exactly.
the better
Mm-hmm.
your spiritual
I feel that way
is.
too.
Yeah.
Do you pray?
Every day.
You do?
Every morning before I get up, when the alarm goes off, I give thanks.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm just very grateful.
Yeah.
And usually I end up apologizing. God, I'm sorry, I was such a jerk. You weren't going to help me, but you did. Thank you.
I want to ask you some questions that I normally save for the end, but since we're here, I'd love to get into it. So what is your knowing of God or your perception of God for you?
I remember when I was 5 years old, I asked my mom about God. And I can't remember exactly what the question was, and I don't remember all of the answer, but I do remember the end of it. She says, basically, Todd, God is love. And I still carry that.
Yeah.
I sort of think it's really simple. We need to love each other and we need to spread it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do that, we're all going to be okay.
Yeah.
We'll all be okay.
Do you ever have experiences where you experience him?
Of course, all the time.
Yeah.
And I know this is going to sound so corny, but children's laughter. Sometimes I'll just sit and just feel the wind on my body. And I know that those are all chemical reactions. I know the science of it, but I also know there's something else there. I love the beach, waves crashing on the shore, the smells, the sights, the sounds. All of that speaks to something.
Yeah, that nature.
Greater than I am. Mm-hmm. And I am an absolute stargazer. Like I don't understand people who don't look at the heavens. And I don't feel alone. Like some people look at them and feel lonely. I look at them and I feel connected.
Mm-hmm.
I feel connected to something greater.
Yeah.
Something larger.
Yeah.
That's positive and good. And you feel it. You know it.
I had this crazy experience a couple weeks ago. We had a full moon. It was dusk pretty much, and you could see how big the moon was. Mm-hmm. So then about 2:30 in the morning, I go to take the dog out. And I step outside, and the moon is always in a different place. Like right now, it's in a certain spot in the sky. But when I go outside at 11, it'll be in another spot. At 2, it'll be in another spot. So I go out about 2:30, and the moon is directly above. It's really bright. And there's this big circle around it. I don't mean like a circle around the moon. Right. I mean a huge circle is in the sky, okay? The rest of the sky is cloudy. There's a huge circle around the moon, and it's sort of like inverted, like an upside down bowl. Mm-hmm. So if you could imagine a bowl up in the sky upside down, and then the moon is at the top of it. Right. And so everything in that circle was clear, and it was so wild. Right. My knees started buckling. I stood out there for like maybe 10 minutes,
Right.
but because I was like, is somebody up there? Is somebody? It was very quiet, and I was just imagining seriously somebody being up there, or someone loving. I took a picture of it, but it's not the same. And then I didn't think about this before the podcast, or I would have pulled it up, but I went and Googled it to see what that was. And there is a name for this thing. I forgot what
yes. But it doesn't change.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't.
Right. That's exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I feel about it. And, I'll run out some nights on my deck and I'll grab a pair of binoculars and I'll just look at the stars and I'll look at, the moon, and it's awe-inspiring. It's just great. It's just great. But, you get that feeling from, and if you're careful and you're listening, you can get the feeling all the time. From music, from the joy of being around other people who are good and upstanding people.
Yeah.
And I feel God all the time.
So when have you had a blessing in your life, a miracle, something happened where you said, this was not me, I had nothing to do with this, this was completely God?
Wow. I don't even know if I should tell this story.
Yes, you should.
I went through a really traumatic divorce. It was really bad for me. It turned me upside down in so many ways, and I lost center. I lost my ability to see love and kindness, and I lost that ability, and I was having a particular disagreement with my former wife. I was not about to handle it properly, and I was home. It was a phone conversation, but I was not about to handle it properly. As a matter of fact, I had grabbed my phone and I set out to confront her, and it would not have ended well for me. and it was just blind rage. Yeah. Something I have never had my entire life. Like when people talk about they have tunnel vision.
Yes.
I could not see the periphery. That's how crazy I was at the time. And I don't know why I stepped back in the house and I grabbed my phone. I don't even know why I did that. Because I was clearly not thinking properly.
Right.
I don't even remember putting on clothes. I don't remember grabbing my keys, but I do remember grabbing my phone. And I was driving to our house and the phone rang.
Wait, wasn't it raining? Because I think
rain. It was pouring rain. And I'm going like 100 miles an hour. Right. Which I kind of do anyway. But and the phone rang, and it was one of my fraternity brothers who I hadn't spoken to in about a year. And he instantly knew something was wrong. And in the time it took for me to answer the phone to the time I was coming up to the exit, he had sort of, talked me into a better place. There is no way that wasn't divine intervention.
Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't. I mean, I would love to. I should ask an odds maker. What are the odds that I'm going to get this phone call from Lloyd out of the blue at that precise moment when I needed it?
Yeah.
It didn't hit me until much later. Because I was still in the black hole. But it didn't hit me till much later what had happened, and it was overwhelming. Like it just washed over me. It was so overwhelming.
Did you ever share with him how he?
Oh yeah,
saved your life.
He knows. He did. I thank him all the time for you. Said you saved my life. That phone call saved my life. Absolutely.
That's something how we don't like. He didn't even know. He just
and that's why you don't know when you're helping people. That's why you always have to be kind. You always have to share good words with people. You always have to do that because you don't know.
That's true.
What people are dealing with, how that may impact you. Impact them, excuse me. Well, impact you as well. But impact them, you just have to,
no, that's true.
Spread love.
I was in Walmart one day. I was really upset, and I went in, for some reason, I don't know if I went to customer service to ask a question because I don't feel like I was returning anything. But I was there for a second, and this woman came out of a door and she just said hi. And it was like 8 a.m. or something like that. It was really early. And she just said hi. And just that hi just was comforting.
Right.
And I literally said, like, she has no idea.
She has no idea.
She just said hi.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. And I tell myself, and this is going to sound corny too, but I do it. I try to do something nice every day. Like intentionally do something nice. And it can be very simple.
Yeah.
Just, great work on that project today. That's a lovely sweater you have on, depending on what the conversation is, or whatever. I just try to make sure I do at least one thing.
Wow.
That's nice.
That's really sweet, because imagine if we all did that.
Right. Even though you probably talk to my employees and they go, he's never nice. He's never nice. Who was that
I should
guy?
tell folks,
Who was that guy?
You were my boss at one point. You were never nice. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, see, I can't fire you now.
Absolutely 1000% kidding. What do you think God calls you to do for yourself and others through your work?
That's a good question. I think as a journalist, I am always looking to amplify the voice of the voiceless and speaking truth to power. And I think God has definitely called me to do that. I hate bullies. And
why is that?
Hurt people, and we need to fix bullies. And having been a man of my stature growing up in Queens, New York, you know how bullies operate. You have to figure out ways to stand up to them. And I think part of that led me to becoming a journalist. And also a fascination with seeing the world and meeting different people. I love meeting different people, getting different perspectives, and of course writing about it. Our job is to shine light where there's darkness. That's a calling.
That's very spiritual.
But it is. This is a spiritual job. We definitely don't do it for the money.
It is.
And even now with our current president and the climate in the country and attacks on journalists. And we're definitely not doing it for prestige.
No, it has to be a calling to put your life on the line. I think about people in Mexico and journalists in Russia.
You don't even have to be in Mexico. I've had a gun to my head in Stamford, Connecticut. A gang member put a gun to my head. I've been shot at by drug dealers. I mean, you don't even have to be in a war-torn country, just this country.
Yeah.
And I know people have put their lives on the line, journalists, fellow journalists, and it's a calling. No one goes into this business and thinks it's just a job.
So we've had conversations in the past about religion, organized religion, and I know that there's aspects that you don't care for, and I'm similar too. But I would like for you to share a little bit about that.
I think religion is important, and I am not passing judgment on anyone who goes to church regularly.
Right.
I understand the ritual that's needed, and I understand what people get from going to church or synagogue or wherever, however they worship, and they should do that. I just tend to believe organized religions separate us
from God,
from God and from each other.
How so from each other?
Just the different denominations. They're Black Baptist, White Baptist.
Right.
That just keeps us separated from truly loving each other and being with each other. I do struggle with that, but I do understand the ritual of it. I do understand how it's comforting. And I like it too, when I'm listening to the choir and, or a good sermon or just being in a community of people. I understand why that's important. But for me, the doctrine and the dogma, which is all man-made, man is flawed, I'd rather go straight to the source. But that's just who I am, and that's how I worship. I don't knock anyone from doing it.
Yeah. Well, God is in church just like he's everywhere. It's not like he's not in church too. Right. The reason that I still will say that I'm Catholic. Right. Although
recovering Catholic,
I enjoy the church itself. Like for me, it's the space is holy, but depending on the person,
right? And it's just hard to, it's hard for me to reconcile the hypocrisies.
Yeah,
I have a difficult time because I do believe there are ultimate rights and wrongs, and you just can't waver on those.
Did you see the clip of Nancy Pelosi? I truly believed her. I'm a Catholic, and I'm offended with my name being associated with that word hate. I respect that. I may have a different feeling about the church itself, about the Catholic Church, but I can certainly, I believed her 1,000%.
She spoke her mind. I think it was an authentic response.
Yeah. Well, so how was it? Did you go to Catholic church too growing up? You said your father was Southern Baptist. I mean, your mother was Southern Baptist, right?
I stayed in the Lutheran church.
Was that how they decided, well, we're from two different religions, so we're gonna go with Lutheran, or how did that happen?
No, it was nothing that thoughtful. The church was around the corner from our house, and that's how. So I could have been Jewish. It could have been a synagogue. It was that simple.
Would you all go as a family?
Not as much. My brother and I would get up and go. It's so funny.
Oh.
My parents wanted us to go. But
yeah.
They didn't go as often. But we were baptized there, and first communion there, and like I said, I was an acolyte, and played on their basketball team, their track team, and I was into it. Boy Scouts, the whole thing.
So your spiritual practice, it sounds like, is nature in a big way. Is that right?
Yeah. I would say so. Nature and observation.
How so?
Just watching, listening to people, just sort of the introvert part of me. We can, if we're at a party, I'm having a good time, even though people don't think I'm having a good time, because I'm sitting and I'm observing and I'm listening. I'm paying attention. It's one of the things I think that makes me a good journalist. I'm paying attention to what's going on, and I'm vibing off what people are doing. I get the connection that way. I feel.
Yeah, you feel connected to the person too, right?
Or not connected. Or not connected, or stay away from that person.
Yeah,
because they're coming, from a different place that you don't want to be surrounded. You don't want that energy. Yeah.
Do you ever talk to God?
All the time.
Conversations.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
What was the last conversation you had?
The last big conversation, my grandmother recently passed away, and he and I had a long conversation.
Really?
Yeah. I wasn't too happy with him. And even though I know it doesn't work this way, she was such a spiritual woman. She lived to be 100 years old.
Right.
And her end was so painful. And I just felt it was so unfair for someone who believed so deeply and gave so much to church and her spirituality that she had to suffer. But then you think Jesus had to suffer. So, I made peace with it, but I was shaking my fist a little at God.
But I spent Thanksgiving with your family, with your parents, and Lynetta, who's a really close friend of mine, like a sister. And usually when someone is that age and they pass away, I don't usually hear the love in the same way. Of course, you love a person who passes away, but sometimes it's like, well, they lived a long life.
We're tired of them.
To hear just different comments about your grandmother and just how she is missed. I was down in your den watching some of the football game, and you had left the room, and it was just your dad and me were in the room. He was just talking about her, and he was just like, and my girlfriend's not here anymore. And I said, oh, your mother-in-law? And he said, yeah, that was my girl, and then he said, 65 years. That's how long I knew her. Right. He just was going on, and I'm just moved by it. I'm really moved by somebody being here for 100 years, and they're still that important.
Absolutely. One of the most important pegs in our family. Absolutely.
So I sometimes feel the presence of people, especially that I'm close to, in those early days after they leave, after they pass away. Do you ever feel that?
Sure. Shortly after she died, I had a hard time sleeping, of course. I sort of felt she was talking to me a little bit.
You did?
Yeah. And every once in a while, if I'm driving home or I'm seated and I'll think about her, and I'm asking questions in my mind, and she's talking to me a little bit, because I still want to make her proud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about her all the time.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you believe in the supernatural?
Like ghosties and ghouls?
Well, like spirits, like we were just talking about. You have a very cynical look on your face right now. I'm thinking not very much.
There's something there. I think there's something there. There's energy. There's something there.
Mm-hmm.
We've all felt it. Yeah.
But you're like, don't pay attention to it, or what?
I don't expect to see Casper flying around or anything like that.
Who said it has to be that?
But as far as connecting with other planes, yeah, of course.
Oh, now are you talking about other planets? Are you talking about spirits?
Spiritual planes.
Spiritual planes.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Sure. Why not? There's so much we don't know and don't understand.
Yeah. Are you curious at all?
I don't know how I'd feel about that. Like if I actually came into contact and, can have this sort of, I guess, close encounter. I don't know.
Well, so when I first asked the question, I was thinking about just different energies. So like me, I can feel other people's energy in the rooms, and I have felt the presence of other people at different times.
Yes, and there are places, especially historic places, where the energy is so different. And that there's something still there from.
Yeah. Whether it's love or violence.
Or violence.
Like Holocaust and things like that. Yeah.
Well, even here in Roswell, you go to Bullock Hall, and if you get a chance to walk around the slave quarters, hey, man, I got chills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got chills. There was a lot of suffering there.
Yeah.
And it's still there. Yeah. You can feel all that. Yeah. If you listen, pay attention. But I'm not sure I want to run into any. I'm not sure.
Do you ever meditate?
I try to. I have a good friend who's really into it, and he's really good. And I tried. I just can't calm myself enough to.
Really?
To do that. Yeah. My mind is moving 100 miles an hour all the time. So if I can get it to 25 miles an hour.
Well, so did you just try on your own,
No,
or
he was helping me. He's really good at it.
What did he say? What was his comment about your
No,
difficulty?
we started out, and actually I was doing well, and then he lives in Washington D.C., so we don't get to see each other very often, but we talk on the phone from time to time, and he trying to walk me through the steps.
Were you in person or on the phone when you did?
When I first started. Mm-hmm. He was giving me lessons in person, and then, obviously we lived in two different places, and then I would try it on my own, and it didn't take. It didn't take.
You're so funny.
And I'm not saying it couldn't. It just.
Sometimes it's just practice, because I could be in I've certainly had like long meditations, but I could just be in a space where that's just not where my head is. And so I might go to meditate and I just can't get there. But then I might go tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then I'm back. You are growing as you meditate, for lack of a better word, or evolving or expanding. Right. So if I just do 5 minutes today, I'll be a little more expanded tomorrow when I try it.
Yeah. And you have to dedicate yourself to it too. Like, make the time. So that's always difficult for me to do. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll try it. I'm not against it. I'm open. Try it again. But he was really good. I mean, he had, trying to seek your spirit guide, and it was getting deep. It was great.
Wow. So as Todd, journalist aside, just as Todd the person, your purpose is extending love and kindness to your fellow man.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. That's the the short version.
It was the longer version.
But that's it. I mean, I'm trying to grow and evolve as a human being, and especially as I get older, what becomes more important, what is the most real, are the things that are of higher spirituality and love, and making sure that the people I love know that I love them, and making sure I'm doing things for them and helping them, and even the people I don't know, trying to help them, and just trying to be better about being kind. And we talked about earlier about the divorce, and I think I lost my kindness. So I'm in a constant growth spiral to get that back. That doesn't mean I was mean to everyone.
As you moved on in your life, how did you become aware that, hey, I could be a little more kind?
The Todd back then was much more open. And some people even say naive, and there's probably some of that too. But I was much more open to helping people and, bending over backwards to help folks and extending myself in that way. You're human, and you don't want to be hurt anymore, and you just sort of shut that off. And then I realized, and not too long after that, it's like, man, that's not me. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
And it's okay to go back to that. It's okay to be that loving and open. It's okay to be that vulnerable. It's okay.
Right.
You don't want the same thing to happen again. It's okay to do that. So once you give yourself permission, and it's okay, you can. And I'm working on
it. Do you think that forgiveness is important when it comes to God and spirituality?
Forgiving, but not forgetting. Yeah.
Can you really forgive if you don't forget?
Yes.
You said that awfully fast.
Yes.
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 Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I can forgive you for doing something horrible to me, but I'm not going to put myself in a position for you to do something horrible to me again.
Right.
That's just lunacy. So, and I think when people say forget, no, I'm not going to bring it up all the time. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
It's not going to be forefront.
Right.
Of the conversation or my
but
feelings for it. But I know not to touch that hot stove again. I mean, that's
how important is forgiveness?
It's important. You have to forgive yourself.
Big time.
More than forgiving other people. And I probably struggle more with forgiving myself. Forgiving myself.
I know I do. And I think most people do. We just might not acknowledge it.
Right.
But because we're so good at projecting when it's really us.
Or thinking you deserve to be beaten up internally for what you've done. Because it wasn't what you should be doing. So you sort of say, well, I deserve feeling this way because.
Right.
And, of course, that's not the way you're designed to function and go forward. But we do that.
So I like to ask people if they are a healer or a seeker. Do you see yourself in that way at all, as either one of those?
I'm a seeker who, for some people, can heal.
That's beautiful.
I don't know about that.
Do you have any examples that you would be willing to share?
I think I'm always in the pursuit of trying to be better and trying to grow and evolve. And while I'm doing that, the lessons I've learned, the things I pass on to other people, I think it can help them,
Yeah. If you're not comfortable sharing this, don't. But I was wondering if your healing through your divorce, was God a part of that process for you?
Not in the beginning. Because there's that same sort of shaking my fist. How could you let this happen? I'm not assessing blame. I had my role in it and she had her role in it, but I consider myself a good man, and marriage is very important to me, and family. It's very important. No one in my immediate family has had to deal with divorce. My parents have been married for 60 years. This is completely unusual for us, and so I felt it was a failure of massive proportion, and I couldn't understand how that happened. So it was sort of hard to sort of embrace God at that point, because I couldn't deal with myself.
So how did you move through that?
Time. It's just time. It's time, and slowly every day, seeing things get better every single day. It just takes time. I mean, it took like 3 years before I even dated again, and 15 years to get married again.
Yeah,
so, and that was a miracle, because I didn't think I would be doing that at all.
Well, and I didn't know you during that time, but you're a person that I have to say I've admired how you do the activity of moving through. You do what you have to do. You move forward.
Trying.
You set a goal and you move forward. That's what I saw in working with you. Mm-hmm. And I remember before you met Lynetta, you were dating those women that were never gonna. We were never gonna approve of them. So
Well, thanks. The jury has spoken.
So I'm glad you met your soulmate.
That's hilarious. Well, that's because I'm glad the jury has spoken.
Yes,
render the verdict.
Yes. So you love cars.
I do.
You have a big passion for cars.
Do.
What does your heart do around cars?
Well, for me, they appeal to all of my senses, except for taste. Obviously, you don't chew on a car. But the sound, the smell, the visual, it's art. It's art. It's like human art. And if you think about the history of cars in this country, automobile connected this country. I mean, the trains did as well, but the automobile it freed Americans to explore. It freed us to explore. So it was the first invention that freed us to explore. I mean, I know people are going to say, well, what about boats? But
it's true.
The car changed everything.
You had autonomy.
Yeah, you had autonomy. You can escape. You can explore. You can change the direction of your life. And I just love the artisans, the people who build them, take their hands and take the idea from their head and put it on metal or fiberglass and come up with these beautiful pieces of machinery. I've always been touched and moved by them.
Wow.
From the time I played with Hot Wheels as a kid to, of course, now where it's like a sickness.
You have videos that you do. Would you share what you...
Sure. I do classic car videos for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and you can see them on ajc.com/classiccars. And I have a YouTube channel. It's Todd's Classic Cars, and I post my videos up there. And I just go around Metro Atlanta and find people with these awesome classic cars and talk to them about their cars. And that's what's even more fascinating than the car, the people who own them, because their stories are so fantastic. And how maybe some guy has a 1940s pickup truck, Ford pickup truck, because that's the last memory he has of his father.
Yeah.
And that's the truck he wants, and he wants to keep that memory going. And they're just fantastic tales. And I love talking to people about their cars and why they're connected to them. And it has nothing to do usually with the value of the car or the price of the car. There's always a greater spiritual connection no, but seriously, there's a spiritual connection to the car that relates to something very human and very personal to that person. And I love telling those stories.
And each car, like, you understand how each car is different. Each is built differently, runs differently.
I try to. Yeah, I try to educate myself on all that.
I love to tell people about your Porsche experience. Would you just share that? Which Porsche experience? Yeah. Well, tell us about all of them then. No. You were testing. Is that the right word to use? No, I don't know if test is the right word.
Porsche created a program called Porsche Passport, which is a subscription service. And you get to subscribe every month. You pay a certain fee. And literally on your phone, you can order a particular model of Porsche, and they'll deliver it to your office or to your home. And so I was writing a story about that. And I said, well, why don't you sign up and you can do it for a couple of weeks. And I did, and it was so much fun. Yeah, it was great.
You had three cars, or how many?
Three cars. I did 3 cars. I did their SUV, I did the 4-door Panamera, and of course I did a 911 Targa, which I loved greatly. And because this will be broadcast, I won't ever say how fast I went, even though I'm sure they could tell, because everything is monitored.
Oh, wow. Well, so if somebody wants to get in touch with you about cars, classic cars, or... Yeah,
if there's a classic car they'd love for me to come out in video, they should just contact me at todd.duncan, that's todd.duncan at ajc.com, and we'll see what we can do.
Well, thank you, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you.
This was great. Thank you for joining us. You can listen to all of our podcast episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our podcast YouTube channel. Also, follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and let me know what you think about our show. Maybe you have some guests in mind who would be great to be featured on Let's Start Healing. Send me an email at letstarthealingpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, let's start healing.